In this kind of movie, you're looking for those images that will terrify people. There's a visceral element to cinema where you have a responsibility to push the envelope as far as you can go, really. In this film, we used a number of different techniques and a lot of different cameras. And it felt like a simple way of trying to capture something out of reach of the conventional technology.
I think what Danny brings to this genre is definitely an element of reality.
It's a very magical opening to it, isn't it?
I also think he's incredibly innovative. Something that really struck me when I watched the first movie was the camera work and the relationship that the camera seemed to be having with the characters and the story.
The first film had been shot on domestic cameras, and it felt like, for an apocalypse, curiously appropriate that you don't have the big conventional cameras available. So on this film, we used many different kinds of cameras and lots of iPhones.
Danny had pretty early on the idea that it was to be shot radically, and he mentioned the idea of smartphones. Any film I do with him is a challenge. That's absolutely fine by me. So we started investigating how to make smartphones work in this kind of projects.
Anthony Dodmantle, who shot the first film, he's an incredibly important collaborator and who's worked with Danny a bunch of times and a fantastic artist. And I think that relationship between the director and the cameraman is one of the most important things in filmmaking, and the way they work together is fantastic.
He has the same energy as Danny. They're just like enthusiastic, buoyant energy, and I love that. And shooting on these iPhones have allowed for such a different atmosphere. It becomes a bit more intimate in a weird way. Like, I felt incredibly vulnerable at first, but I think it's allowed for us to capture something that's a bit more raw.
There was incredible benefits to shooting on a small gadget. It's lightweight, it's handy, it's something we all know, but this was a bigger challenge than normal because I had to work out a way of finding lenses that could sit on iPhones and bring that quality of cinematic imagery.
We are shooting on iPhone 15 Pros. We have a variety of lenses. Some of them really do have proper cinema lenses on it, and it's taken them weeks and weeks to develop it. So it's not quite as simple as just pick up an iPhone and shoot, but they just give you a bit more freedom and you can just stick them anywhere.
We used many different kinds of cameras. We have the amazing drone operator who we used as well, because some of the locations were so tricky to access that you could only get the actors in a drone in. And we tried to be as lightweight and flexible as possible with them.
We've pretty much been involved in every scene. Normally we were dropping in and out of projects, we do days here and there, but there's just been a requirement for drone from the usual stuff, the high up stuff, but then really down, you know, skimming the grass, we're flying in and out in the woods, and you really come up with ideas that you'd never imagined you'd be attempting to do with a drone.
Been really unique. And then there's also that they've built these new rigs where you've got this sort of matrix effect in all these action sequences, and they can move this thing that captures something from over here all the way over here, so you can kind of come swiftly move all the... Do you know what? They'll tell you, because it's really complex.
It's based on an older concept from films like The Matrix. They did something similar, but they did it in a very different way. Essentially, it's multiple cameras set up in an arc. They're all recording at the same time, and what they're going to do in post-production is they'll quickly cut between them, and you've got that freedom to move around and, you know, wrap the subject, really kind of feel the action in the scene.
It's a poor man's version of bullet time, really, which gives you the ability to create an almost 3D sensation of the impact of the arrows at various points. And another scene when Eric meets his end at the hands of Samson, that you use this kind of bullet time idea.
In a cinematic way, it's Danny and Anthony sort of breaking another boundary, and I think that's bold. I think that's bold filmmaking.
I've been fortunate enough to work with Danny for many, many years, and I've always embraced his ideas. To a certain extent, you could say on this film, we haven't taken ourselves to the easier places. Loads of issues that, sure, are restrictive or challenging. We had the same thing with 28 Days Later, and out of that kind of energy, I think something interesting exists.
28 Days Later connected with people around the world to an extraordinary degree. And so you have certain obligations to the fans, who are the reason you're here making another one, But you have a responsibility to make sure that you're contributing something new as well. And I want people to have an intense visual experience.